Hello everyone, and welcome to Flow Fundamentals from the Automating Admin, the video series designed to help Salesforce professionals learn flows. In this third video, we will begin to look at what makes up a flow by looking at the flow editor's layout as well as the flow canvas. Additionally, we'll dive into one of the main building blocks of building a flow, which is flow resources. By the end of this video, we'll learn how to navigate the flow editor and flow canvas. What are resources, where are they used, and how are they created? The difference between variable, constant, formula, and text template resources. When we create a new flow or open an existing flow, we are brought to the flow editor screen. This screen is made up of multiple components. At the top is the flow's name and version number. Below that are various buttons, such as displaying or hiding the toolbox sidebar, editing the flow's properties, or the flow's layout, as well as buttons to debug, save, and activate the flow. The rest of the flow editor is made up of the flow canvas. The flow canvas is a visual representation of all aspects of a flow. The flow canvas displays the type of flow and any starting criteria, and all steps and actions taken in the flow. These steps and actions are known as elements, which we will discuss in depth in the next video. When the flow's layout is set to auto layout, the order of operations begins at the top of the flow canvas and works downward. This means the element connected to the start is the first item executed, followed by the element connected to that, and so on. If we set the flow's layout to freeform, we can move around the positions of the elements, and we can follow the order of operations by viewing the connecting arrows. Another main aspect of building a flow are the values, inputs, and outputs we can leverage during the flow process. These values are known as resources. Let's say we have a screen flow that is triggered via a button on the account page, and this flow allows a user to create a case for the account where the button is pressed. We could ask the user to enter in the account's ID, however, that isn't an optimal experience since the user navigated to the account to press the button. What we can do to save the user a step is create a resource in the flow that can store the account ID, then pass that value into the flow when the user presses the button. We can then use this ID to get information about the account, such as the name and address. To add a new resource to a flow, as well as see a list of existing resources, navigate to the toolbox sidebar. If the toolbox isn't visible, click the toggle toolbox icon in the top left of the page. Here, we can see a list of all resources in the flow, categorized by type. We can also use the search bar to view specific resources. Some of the resources we will have made, and some of them will be the results of certain elements on the flow canvas. Using this flow as an example, the decision outcomes listed here are from the decision elements in the canvas, while the constants and formulas are items I created. Clicking on the arrow icon to the right of the resource name allows us to see where the resource is used in the flow. This view will show which elements leverage the resource, as well as if any other resources use this resource. To create a new resource, click the New Resource button. We are asked to select the resource type before continuing. We'll go over the different types in a moment. After selecting the resource type, enter in the API name with no spaces or special characters, and optionally provide a description. Then set any fields specific to the resource type as needed. Variables store values that can be changed throughout the flow. Variables are also used to store values passed into the flow, as well as values that will be passed out from the flow. They are the most common type of resource a user will create. An example of a common variable is storing a record's ID, such as our previous use case of passing the account ID in to create a case. When configuring a variable resource, the data type must be selected. Text is a commonly used option for storing IDs and other values. If record is selected, we are asked to specify the object. Using record allows us to set specific fields on the variable during the flow process, so this is a good option for creating new records or updating existing ones. If we check the box Allow Multiple Values Collection, this means the variable can store more than one value at a time. This is helpful if we need to store multiple IDs to be updated or want to create multiple records at a single time. We can optionally set a default value, which means if this variable is not set during the flow process, it will have the specified value listed. Checking the box Available for Input allows values to be passed into the flow, such as passing the account ID in from pressing a button. Available for Output allows values to be passed to outside of the flow. An example of this would be a subflow that runs a set of steps and outputs a value back to the parent flow. One final item to note on variables. When passing a record's ID into a flow, label the variable as record ID with all lowercase letters except the I in ID. Salesforce is built to recognize this variable name when triggering a flow from a Lightning component or custom button. A constant resource is a value that can be used but cannot be set or changed during the flow process. Constants are a good option if we need to enter a hard-coded value somewhere in the flow, but will want to know in the future where it is used in the flow. For example, if I want to create a flow that sets all opportunities probability to 50%, in my record update I could manually type 0.5 as the value. But if this flow ever gets more complex, it might be hard to troubleshoot what step in the process that update is occurring. If I make a constant with a value of 0.5 and use that constant to set the field, using the toolbox, I can see the exact spot it occurs. A formula resource calculates a value to be used in the flow. Formulas can leverage other resources as well as hard-coded values to output a new value. Perhaps when creating a case for an account, I want to view the billing state, and if it is California, I set the priority to high. Otherwise, the priority is set to medium. I can do this by getting the account's details, and then using those values in the formula to create an if function. The text template resource is used for leveraging text in the flow. It is similar to a text variable in that text can be stored, used, and changed, but what makes it different is that it allows for multiple lines as well as rich text formatting. Other flow resources could also be used in the text template, similar to email merge fields. Text templates are a great option for building email bodies and subjects within a flow. The stage resource is an optional tool designed to track a user's progress in a flow. Think of this as a text variable specific for order of operations. We can specify the stage's order using a numerical value. Stages can be used in screen flows to inform the user where they are in the process, and we can also use stages in decisions to determine what action to take next. The remaining 4 resources are specific to screen flows. These are known as choices. Choices are used in screen components to allow a user to select one or multiple options, similar to pick lists and multi-select pick lists. The choice option is a single, manually created value. In most use cases, multiple choices are created and then are set when building out a screen. The collection choice set takes a collection of records and transposes them into choices. The record choice set is similar to collection choice set in that it displays records, but instead of selecting a collection pulled from somewhere in the flow, we specify the object and conditions in the choice directly. Finally, the pick list choice set creates choices based on a specified object's pick list field. That's all for today's Flow Fundamentals video. If you enjoyed this topic, please be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks, and I'll see y'all later.